I wrote a book, and not just any book. It's a New York Times bestseller. You can grab a copy anywhere books are sold. Thanks to Skylight Calendar for sponsoring today's video. Heads up, this episode includes a frank discussion of negative internalized messages and self-talk, some of which I'm still personally trying to shake.
Hello, brains! I am with Caroline McGuire in person, which I'm really excited about. My book just came out this month. In this book, I put everything that I've learned over the last 7-8 years about ADHD through doing this channel. And as I was putting the book together, I realized, I really know a lot about ADHD, except for in this one area. How to make connections, how to make friendships as somebody with ADHD is something that I've always struggled with. So when I went to write the book, I realized I need this chapter to be in there, but I also am not at all qualified to write this. I just don't understand friendships well enough. And so I reached out to Caroline McGuire, who does understand friendships. She's the author of Why Will No One Play With Me? She's writing another book about how to make friends as a neurodivergent person. And so I reached out and was like, hi, can you help me with this? And she did. And she did such a good job that I was like, can you also help me make friends? So there's a whole chapter in this book that Caroline helped me write and also provided guidance to me on my own journey of trying to make friends. So as I was writing that chapter, as I was working with her on it, I was also trying to put these things into practice. And what ended up in that chapter was stuff that I personally found helpful. So I wanted to do an episode where I talked to her in person and confessed all of the friendship struggles that I have had and get her take on them. Over the last couple of years, I've started to feel very safe with you. So I'm going to be very candid and open about the extent of my struggles. And maybe some of you can relate. And I'm just curious to, just get your take on them and ask if I'm hopeless. Like if I could just
No, of course you're not hopeless. And by the way, nothing you've ever said to me hasn't been said to me hundreds and hundreds of times.
Really?
I just feel like it's just you, but it's not just you.
Between the book launch, prepping for baby, and trying to make time for friends, I've got a lot going on right now. Skylight Calendar is helping me keep track of it all in a place where my partner can easily see it too. There's a grocery list where he can see what we need before he goes shopping. A chore chart where we can see what we need to do so we don't have to remember it and get a little celebration when we check it off. It's like a family hub, but digital, so we can add stuff right from our phones, wherever we are. And there are multiple view options: daily, weekly, monthly, or schedule view to see hour-by-hour time blocks. You can even color code events by family member to easily see what everyone has going on each week, which is perfect for visual thinkers. I love having a visual cue reminding me to check my family's schedule while I'm getting ready in the morning so I know what kind of day I'm getting ready for. Focus and structure are both challenging for those with ADHD. Skylight can help. If you'd like to try Skylight, go to skylightcal.com/howtoadhd and use my code howtoadhd or scan the QR code for 10% off.
It feels really embarrassing, especially because people don't understand the struggle or like, well, what's the problem? Like, why do you have trouble making friends? Like, it should be easy. But I'm like, it's not. Like, there's really basic friendship things that I find really difficult. Let's go back to, let's say, elementary school. I've struggled with friends for as long as I can remember. And at first it was because I just got this sense that I was really weird. There were like cliques, right? And I never fit into them. Individual relationships were a little bit easier because, like, this sounds awful, but like if I'm their only choice of people to talk to, like, then of course they're gonna wanna talk to me because like I'm the only option. But as soon as there was more than one person, there was more than one person to keep happy, which I was terrible at. There was more to track, but then also I felt like I was immediately kind of at the bottom of the group. Like, why would anybody want to talk to me when they have other options?
You say stuff like this a lot about how many options people have. So I'm hearing that you think about whether or not you're the option.
I guess, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is self-esteem issues of like, why would somebody want to talk to me or why would somebody want to hang out with me? Because I'm like awkward or weird or boring. Sometimes I feel like I'm not that interesting.
Jessica McCabe? Okay, wait. I'm sorry. I have to do this because you are just so magical and wonderful. I have to ask you, if you say you're awkward and all these things, what else are you?
Annoying. Too much. There's a lot of internalized.
No. What else are you?
Overly emotional,
Creative.
too sensitive. Oh, you're looking for positives.
I'm looking for positives. Like, you're saying all these things about yourself, and I know this isn't like exactly where we're supposed to, necessarily, but like, I can't just let it lie. What about all the other wonderful things about yourself?
Okay, so I think that's part of the problem is that historically I've been very aware of the places where I was too much or not enough. And I don't think that I got a lot of messages about the places where I was wonderful to be around. And maybe it was because I was more sensitive to or picked up more on the negative messages, but I got a lot of negative messages.
I know. I totally think we get a lot of negative messages, right? We get more negative messages than typical people. You've internalized them, so have I. I mean, we all have. But I see so many wonderful things about you, and I just couldn't help myself but point them out.
Thank you. I am starting to learn from this community, from connecting with other people with ADHD. It's done a couple of things. Like, for one, it's normalized a lot of the info dumping and the talking really quickly and the interrupting and the places where I'm too much. And I see it in other people in the community too, but in them, I actually find it really joyous. I'm delighted by it a lot of the time. It makes me happy, and they are like me, right? And so There must be something valuable about me because I find value in other people with ADHD. It's often worth it, right? I'm not saying that it's never like annoying to be with somebody with ADHD who keeps interrupting you or is bouncing off the walls and like you're tired and just need a break from it or whatever. But there's like this almost double standard sometimes of like, well, it's okay for other people to be like that because they're entertaining. I'm just annoying, right? Like, it's the same behavior.
It's like what you're telling yourself is so not compassionate, but you are right. We get so many negative messages, and those negative messages are about fitting in and not what really matters, which is belonging.
I don't remember a time where I felt well-liked or popular or anything like that. I mean, I have a YouTube channel and I have a lot of subscribers, but it's still really easy to be like, well, that's because like the stuff that I say is helpful. Productivity is an area that I always felt like I was good at. I like to read, I like to learn, I was good at school for a long time, and so I felt like I succeeded there in ways that I did not succeed socially, and so I really leaned into the let me be productive like as a way to escape. So when maybe other people were going out and like going to parties and making friends and stuff, I was working a second job. So yeah, when I think about like, okay, but people like me on YouTube, well, they like me because like I'm good at learning all the research and sharing all this information and stuff, but like it's not me the person. Like anybody could have done this. It's just Okay, I think we're learning that like one of the issues is low self-esteem. I got made fun of a lot. Like I got bullied in school a lot. Like girls were mean. Like my peers were really mean to me, and it's actually hard to talk about.
It is really hard.
Because it's like it's easier to just kind of like hide on the internet, I guess, and be like, okay, like I'll just like have this kind of armor of like I don't have to see somebody's disapproval, like, and if I need to delete a comment, I can delete a comment or block somebody or whatever. In person socializing with peers, I think I still run up against all of the negative internalized messages that I had as a kid, and I still feel like that awkward little girl who doesn't fit in and nobody likes her.
And that little girl is the voice in your head. And that voice has like a whole script, right? And then you go to do something and your first thought is, haven't been good at this before. Why would being an adult doing this be different? You ask me, how do I change that? We partly have to look at the self-talk and help you recognize how powerful and wonderful you are.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's so
I didn't know this
hard.
is where this was going to go. I really didn't. I was like, it's so funny just talking to you and trying to explain it. It's like, oh, well, that's the problem. Like,
you're not a problem. It's the problem of what happened in the past.
Yeah. And even when I am in a situation now, like where I am being accepted or I do feel like I belong or whatever, there's still that like, but I don't actually deserve to be here. People are just being nice. Like, there really is a lot of like negative messages in my head that I don't even totally fully realize. Even if the people in the room aren't telling me that, like my own head is telling me that, and it's a miserable experience sometimes.
Your confidence was killed by these negative messages as a kid.
I wasn't good at stuff. So like the kids who were popular were the ones that were like good at kickball, and like, you know, I was clumsy. I was a clumsy kid. Or the ones that like knew all the cool makeup tricks or whatever, and I was like, meanwhile over by the bushes like picking things off of the trees and like applying lipstick with the, I don't know, did you ever do that? Like there were bushes. Like I couldn't, like my parents didn't get me lipstick. I was like using flowers to try and like do lipstick. I didn't feel like I had a lot to offer. And so I think like pretty early on, I learned like I was lucky if people just let me be around them. So I had friends sort of, I knew that they were more popular than I was, and so I was very deferential to them, like, oh, whatever you want to do, or like, I don't know, I let them treat me badly, I think, a lot of the time because I didn't feel like I deserved better. And I also, here's another layer of it, I didn't feel like a good friend because I wouldn't remember to return their jacket that they let me borrow, or I wouldn't remember their birthday. And so what I understood friendship to be was not a wonderful experience. It was I feel less than and I get treated like dirt. And in return, like I have a friend.
I don't love what you're sharing because I don't want you to feel that way. I'm like so want to, you know, just hug you and envelop you in love. But I think the thing is a lot of us feel that way. And I think it is important for people to know that they are not alone.
I have to prove my worth in every social situation. Like there is no sense of like, I just show up and I'm like, isn't everybody glad I'm here? It's like, what do I have to offer? Because who I am is not enough.
What makes you a good friend isn't what you offer though. What people value in friendship is companionship, is laughter, is joy. Right? And all the characteristics you talked about as a kid also have this positive side. You were creative putting the berry lipstick on your lips, right? Like that's so creative. You were smart. You went and you found knowledge. You were, you know, someone who was tenacious, pursuing different things. And unfortunately, elementary school doesn't really value those things. And especially when we were growing up. And so you didn't get the positive messages. You have so much to offer, but I know me saying that isn't going to change anything. I know you have to feel it.
I think I do have strengths and I recognize my strengths, but they are all productivity related.
What about the thing that makes you really good at your work, but also a great friend, which is your empathy?
Okay, we can start there. That's brilliant, actually. Going, okay,
I just can't stand you running yourself down.
I didn't mean to do this on the internet. Like, here's why I suck. In other aspects of my life, I do have a lot of confidence. I do have a pretty good self-esteem. It's just not when it comes to friendships. So thinking about like what makes me feel valuable in other aspects of my life, and then how could that translate to like I could also be a good friend. I'm glad you gave me the example because the first thing I thought of was like, oh well, like I can teach people about ADHD, meaning like I can be productive to my friendship.
Like you could go to parties and be like, hey, I'm gonna have a PowerPoint here on ADHD. Be my friend,
right?
I mean,
yes.
I do sometimes do that, so I don't want to really run it down as a technique. But what I also hear is that there are arenas where you have really felt that you have value and you've rewritten those narratives.
Yeah.
But you're not allowing those same traits to cross over into friendship. You're like keeping them siloed, like you are only for productivity. You have no value as me interacting and interfacing with other people. And it's just not true. What I hear you talking about in terms of your, what you call productivity, are also traits that people value in friendship.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Like I've never thought to apply it that way. That's really interesting. Just blowing my mind right now.
We don't think of our positive strengths and characteristics as applying to friendship because we've been fed this narrative that it's not replying, it's not giving people birthday presents and not sending cards on time. And it's these certain things that make us bad friends, or it's the stuff that made us bad friends when we were, little kids. Allegedly, maybe we weren't even, maybe it was just some people didn't like that, or some people couldn't
And that's what
understand. And that's what we stuck with it. There's many children I work with who tell me that they have, even today, been labeled, and the thing that they're being labeled for are characteristics that are also powerful ADHD traits, right? There are traits that help us be inventors and directors and actors and do wonderful things.
So I like that a lot, knowing everybody's got traits, right? Like everybody has traits, and knowing how those traits can apply and make you a good friend is something that I don't know that I'd ever really thought about. I do have a lot of traits that could cross over into making me a good friend, but because I feel like I'm a bad friend, I don't think to do that.
That's the shutdown piece, because it's so hard to go back to those memories too. And like there's a whole thing with those of us with ADHD where one of the reasons we don't like call up our past experiences to help inform our future plans is that those past experiences are colored by all this negative stuff. So I don't want to think about what I learned from my last project, because mixed into that memory. But then when we do call them up, we take those old messages and we take them on. And for all we know, the people sending us those messages were just mean haters and they didn't need to be giving us those messages.
And I talk about this in the book. It's actually Caroline's idea that one of the biggest issues that any of us have in friendship, anyone who with ADHD, anyone who's neurodivergent, one of the biggest issues is not that we're weird or that we interrupt or whatever. It's the mindset with which we approach friendships. It's the mindset, right? And we talk about that in the book.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we talked about when we wrote the chapter was I think that the mindsets affect everything we do. And I think it's an under-discussed topic, or not discussed at all. And I think think about the scarcity mindset, right? Like you described as a child feeling like, okay, there's no one really here. So whoever is here, I have to take whatever they dish out. And many of us feel this way, by the way. So now that
who else will be friends with me?
Who else will be friends with me? So I can't, and people feel this way as adults too. Like I can't stand up for myself. I have to people please, because there's really not that many people out there who would tolerate me, and therefore I am stuck. But what happens is then we tolerate stuff, and we also don't seek more friends because we're like, there's no point.
Wow, okay, I think I need some ice cream.
We have ice cream.
Oh, good. I'm glad we have ice cream. Is there like an exercise that you'd recommend for people to kind of
Yeah, so
their mindset around feeling valuable?
I have a lot of clients who feel this way, especially with the new diagnosis rates where a lot of people are being diagnosed as adults later in life. We have all this stuff we're carrying, right? So one of my big tricks is, as you are entering a social situation, start counting up your wins. And a win is like, I got here. I showed up. I'm here. Not like, well, I meant to talk more, but I didn't talk more, or I meant to talk less. No. We work on just noticing your wins. And then we also work on the self-talk. We have phrases you're saying to yourself, and then when you catch yourself saying something like, well, I'm lucky they're talking to me, the first step is noticing. And then as you notice, we have replacement thoughts, because we have to retrain your default mode, right? You're going into, this is where I come from. I also really think the pregame is important, where I'm doing things to make myself feel comfortable and good.
Yeah, I'm very curious. We'll do another video about the pregame, because my pregame right now is like, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. Like,
but then that's your mindset. Your mindset going in is like, it is only a matter of time before no, it is our mindset. But is it a helpful mindset?
Well, no. But so what are replacement thoughts?
So I'm just going to say some things that you said, right? You said that it's only a matter of time before I mess up. And a replacement thought would be like, well, what about it's only a matter of time before I do something great? or right, or like
so foreign to me.
or like instead of you said all these negative things about yourself, like you could be thinking, I'm empathetic, I'm creative, I am somebody who cares about people, I operate with kindness in a world where most people are not kind. Like you have all these wonderful things you do. So what we would do is we would literally take these thoughts that you have as you go through a social situation, and we would come up with replacement thoughts. And sometimes you would come back to me and say, that did not work at all, Caroline, because this is all being in a place of experimentation and practice. If your mindset is, I am practicing, then you're like, oh, there's inevitable tweaks. There's inevitable mess ups. If your mindset is in a place of like, today matters so much and everything I do matters, then you're so much harder on yourself.
So it's finding things that you can accept and that you can believe. If you were like trying to give me a replacement thought, like I am the popular kid in the, like, I will reject that. It's too far from.
No, that's too far. Like, yeah. And also I'm going to make a bold statement. I don't care about popularity, right? What I care about is you feeling that you have people where you belong and you feel that they love you for you.
Okay, those are two different things. I do feel like I belong a lot of the time, but that's as far as it goes for now.
Okay, we won't go a bridge too far.
This is great. No, thank you so much. I think this was really helpful. Check out the book if you'd like to learn more. It's in a chapter called How to People. Caroline has a lot of things that she shares or that she shared with me that made it into that chapter. And you can also find Caroline's work in the description below. We'll put links and stuff. Is there anything else you want to promote?
I really just would love if people come to my community at author Caroline M and tell me what you need, and I will make videos about it and help you with all these problems, because this is what I do. I help people, and I am a work in progress. I am not great at this. I'm just figuring it out with everybody.
You have a lot of insights, though. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna go get some ice cream. Thank you to my brain advocates and all my Patreon brains for allowing me to make content like this where we can come and shoot with Caroline. And thank you to Caroline, who also helped fund this trip. Thank you. Let me know if you like videos like this. If you do, like, subscribe, click all the things, and I will see you next video. Bye, brains. Oh, wait. 1, 2, 3.
Bye, brains.